Hi, I'm Jessica from Bedazzled Supplies, and today I'm going to show you how to install twist locks onto your wallets and bags. The twist lock is a beautiful addition to your bag that will keep your bag nice and secure. By adding this hardware, it will also give your bag a professional and sophisticated look. Now, this type of lock is on the heavier side, so it must be installed on heavyweight fabrics. We advise to interface the fabric pieces where the lock will be installed. So I went ahead and fused some interfacing to the bag flap as well as the body of the bag. This lock comes as one piece, but once you twist the lock and open it up, you'll notice it actually has two halves to it, a female half and a male half. The male half has prongs for easy attachment as well as a metal washer, and the female piece has a front plate, a back plate, and two screws. The female piece will go on the flap of the bag, and the male piece will go on the body of the bag. So first, let's start with the female piece. We need to open this piece up, so I'm using a Phillips screwdriver to remove the tiny screws. Now these screws are so small, so be sure you don't lose them. So once it's all separated, the front plate will go on the fabric side of the flap, and the back plate with the screws will go on the lining side of the flap. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to start by placing the female piece on the flap of my bag, and I'm going to make a mark where I want to place it. Your pattern might specify where it should be placed, otherwise use your best judgment. And I'm also going to make a mark on the body of my bag for the male piece. Taking the male piece, I'm going to start by bending the prongs to face outward, if they're not already. Now I'll lay that metal washer down on my little dot that I made, and I'll figure out where the metal prongs will be going through. I'll take a pen and mark a placement for the prongs, and I'll make the same exact mark on a small piece of ultra firm stabilizer. I'm going to reinforce this area a little bit extra since this hardware is on the heavier side. Once I have both pieces marked, I'll take my seam ripper, and I'm just making very small nicks into these marks. The openings don't need to be very big for the prongs to fit through. Now I'll place my prongs through just to make sure my openings will be big enough. And once everything looks good, I'll add a little bit of fray check to my fabric just to prevent it from fraying. And now we can go ahead and place the prongs through the bag. I can now place my scrap of interfacing through the prongs and top it off with the washer. Now I'll take some pliers and bend the prongs away from each other, making sure they're completely flat. And last, I'm going to take a little scrap of thin interfacing, and I'm just fusing that down to the back side of the washer to protect my fabric. And now it should look something like this. Now for the flap of the bag. I'm going to take the female piece and lay it down on my marked position. And I'm going to trace inside that circle. And I'll also trace inside the two little holes for the screws. Now I'm going to connect those dots to make one big diamond shape opening. And then we can cut that entire opening out. So I'm going to start an opening with my seam ripper, and then take some embroidery scissors to go ahead and cut that opening. I'm going to lay down that female piece just to see if my opening is big enough. And I still see a little bit of fabric showing through the opening, so I cut it a little bit bigger. You want to make sure the opening is big enough for the hole in the middle, plus those two little holes for the screws. Once the opening is the correct size, I'll apply some fray check to make sure my fabric doesn't fray. Now I'll take the front plate and put some fabric tack glue around the edges. This is going to keep the twist lock permanently in place. I'm going to place that front plate on the fabric side of my flap and gently press it down. I'll then take the back plate, add some more glue, and place the back plate on the lining side of my flap. I'll also put a bit of glue where the screws will go just to make sure everything will stay nicely in place. I'll go ahead and screw these in, and now both pieces are nicely attached. And just like that, we have this beautiful twist lock installed that's going to keep our bags nice and secure. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more tutorials. Thanks for watching.